Hello, I'm Dr. Amber Love Johnson, and this is the EduCurious Podcast, where we highlight exceptional educators and dive deep into complex issues. Today's guest is Dr. Aleli Vazquez, a lifelong educational leader and Dean of Faculty at the Ron Clark Academy. Good morning and welcome to the show. It's so good to have you.
Good morning. So excited to be here with you. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Well, thank you. You are a legend, and so many people have told me about your work. But I want to hear it from you, particularly about your work with turning a Title I school around. And the reason I'm asking about this is I work at the Lake Wales Charter School System, and our population is Title I students. And that is something I'm really passionate about, is making sure that we're supporting our students' needs. So, from the expert, tell me about that.
So, definitely, it has been one of the highlights of my career being able to becoming a transformational school turnaround leader. For me, I think one of the biggest misconceptions about turnaround work is that it is only about academics. And that's the biggest mistake a lot of people make at first, right? Of course, academics matter, but a lot of the times, struggling schools rarely have just an academic problem, right? Usually, there are always deeper issues underneath that data. It may be culture, it may be staff morale, behavior issues, attendance, family engagement, unclear expectations, right? Weak systems, or the turning around of leadership all the time. And sadly, most of the time, several of those things are happening at once or all of them at once, right? In the schools, I always start by listening and observing. I want to understand what is working, what is not working, what people are frustrated about, because they get very frustrated working in schools that are on the eye of higher ups in the district all the time, right? There's a lot of pressure. And sometimes what people are afraid to say out loud, I want to hear that. And from there, once I get that, I build that foundation. And that means creating clear systems, structures, right? Putting consistent expectations and then building a culture where people understand the vision and where we're going and each roles, right? And sadly, sometimes people want immediate academic gains, but the truth is that sustainable turnaround does not happen overnight. And you always want to create sustainable change, not something that you're it's like a band-aid. There are moments where you have to slow down the academic push and then build systems and cultures, and then you'll see the results on the academics. That specific Title I school, that first year, I said, you know what? I'm going to sacrifice the academics. And my focus was on let's build a stronger community. Let's build a beautiful culture for the staff, for the faculty, for the students. Let's become something strong, and then I'll see the results on the academics, right? That doesn't mean that I ignore completely the academic side. It was just being strategic. I took the time to build relationships and earn the trust of the people that I was leading. My expectations were very consistent, right? You put that in place, and that's when you start seeing the academic improvement. When you bring in the families in Title I schools, it is so important that you invest in the community. And because of that, I had an amazing team of people that work closely with the community and an amazing parent liaison. And we created a parent resource room, a family resource room, a food pantry. We had uniforms. We try to look for the resources because we wanted to make things a little bit easier for these families. There's a lot of struggles going on at homes of these students, especially now with the economy, right? There's a lot going on. And if we can take a little bit of that pressure from that home, so that child can come in the morning happy because they had a good morning at home, they can have a nice breakfast with us and feel safe when they enter the building. A lot of things change with that. I love to stand in the hallway in the mornings with music. I used to dance with the kids every morning, but they thought that I was just having fun with them. But in all honesty, what I was doing is doing a quick check on every child as they walked in. And I was able to identify, whoa, this baby's not going to have a good morning today. So let me call the counselor real quick. And I will be calling my counselor saying, check on this baby. And I rather for that child to miss the first 5, 10 minutes of the day so we can regulate that child and make sure that their brain is ready to learn than sending them off to the classroom and waiting for that call for that child to be sent to the office later on in the day, right? So it was me being having witness of every child that walked in the building, making sure that they were eating breakfast. And if I knew that there was a situation at home, I would be telling the cafeteria manager, another breakfast for that baby, please. Make sure that he gets a double portion as needed. Or come on, baby, what's going on? Or they would come in directly to me. I didn't have a good morning, Dr. Me. I'm not feeling well. Or my mom was yelling at me, or I didn't sleep well because something was happening at home. That helped a lot because when I made sure that I was sending kids that were ready to learn to the classrooms, right? That helped the teachers a lot. And I also believe that the biggest thing you can do in situations like that, or any situations, but specifically when you're trying to turn around a school, you have to invest in the adults in campus. Every school has such amazing, amazing educators, especially in those schools when they stay and they know how hard it is and all the pressure that they get, and they still stay in that school. It's because they love what they do. So sometimes they are not performing because they haven't been properly supported, right? Or given the opportunity to lead. And part of my job has always been to identify those people, build their confidence and capacity, and give them meaningful opportunities to contribute. Getting to know them. What do you like to do? How can you contribute to my school? And making them part of the decision making and giving them a little sense of belonging, right? I'm not avoiding difficult conversations. These are still happening. There's still accountability, but accountability always needs to come with coaching and support and clear path forward, right? Not just pointing out what you're doing wrong. Is I'm going to help you. And these are some things that you can do. So yes, in my turnaround work, we improved academics. We created a beautiful school culture. We reduced behaviors by implementing the trauma-informed approach. During that time, we increased family engagement, which got us a state award for it. And then that's how we started building those stronger systems for teaching and learning, right? Because the parents were involved, they felt supported, the kids felt safe, they felt loved, and then the teachers knew that I and my team was there to support them, to not to point out what they were doing wrong, but to highlight what they were doing phenomenal for these kids every day because it is so hard, but also coaching them and developing them. Nothing more important than that. And sometimes leaders have the wrong perception that teachers don't want professional development. They don't want to meet. They don't want to do. Yes, they do, but it has to be meaningful, right? So true turnaround is not improving scores 1 year, right? Because if you improve the scores 1 year and the systems that you build are not sustainable, when you leave as a leader, everything goes down the drain. And that's not fair, right? You want to create something that's going to be there forever. You want to leave that place better than you got it. So it is changing the culture. It is supporting and developing the adults, building strong systems. It is improving the school so it can continue growing long after you're gone.
Your dissertation was on the trauma-informed approach at a Title I school, which I am very interested in, very similar to my dissertation. So dive into what is a trauma-informed approach, because from what I learned and what I'm hearing you say is the kids crave it, and actually the educators that you're supporting also need that trauma-informed approach because the correlation is so strong of leading a classroom versus leading a school.
Yes. And a lot of people think that trauma informed means letting the kids do whatever they want. And that is not it, right? It's having the knowledge and the tools in place to be able to identify red flags in a very proactive way. It's knowing to identify when a child is going to be triggered by something. It's knowing as an adult that I need to self regulate before I attempt to regulate a student in my classroom. It's teaching the kids the strategies that they need to be successful when it comes to self regulating themselves, right? And identifying when a burst of anxiety or anger or frustration is coming, and them having the tools in front of them or in their brains of this is how I learn how to self regulate, right? Something that I think many adults need nowadays, right? So if we're teaching that at a young age, we're going to be raising amazing human beings in lives. And one of the biggest things that we see, unfortunately, sometimes is dysregulated adults trying to regulate dysregulated students. So that combination is a ticking time bomb. It's like I'm dysregulated, you're dysregulated, and boom. You see it in so many videos, right? Sometimes I see videos and it's sad when you see students hitting teachers or teachers fighting with students. And it's just, we're not giving the tools and the resources and the knowledge to the educators so they can actually be able to identify those red flags in a proactive way and also teach the students how to self regulate. In the world we're living, I think it's so valuable. And when I was working on my dissertation, COVID happened, right? And I remember my dissertation chair saying, "My God, Aleli, this is going to be amazing because this dissertation is so timely." And I spent so many hours and I was so invested in what I was doing because fortunately, I was always already implementing that in my school, right? So when COVID happened, that was the thing. And that helped us get through so many situations that were happening during that time. And one of the biggest and most beautiful experiences that I had during COVID was I had parents sending me pictures of safe corners that they created in their homes during that time that they were learning from home because their child were saying, I need my safe corner. And they were like, I want my child to have the same experience that they were having at school while they're learning at home. We're going to make the same things. And I have pictures of them teaching them how to self regulate, doing all the techniques and strategies that we had taught them, creating safe spaces in we call it the manatee corner. It was embedded in the culture. It was embraced by the community and it helped us in so many ways. And I think it's such a valuable thing to teach educators.
When I was going through some of your interviews earlier, something that just resonated was the term behaviorist communication. That's something I quoted in my dissertation. I heard you say it. How do you feel that that term relates to discipline? Because that is part of creating a good school culture.
Absolutely. And that's the way we should start seeing it. One of the things that I used to talk about a lot with my teams was about identifying ACEs, right? And you'll be surprised how many people don't know what ACEs, adverse childhood scenarios that they have, right? Experiences. And we did a little dynamic where we talked about identifying our own ACEs as we were growing up. And it was very personal, right? Everyone wrote it down and I saw a lot of tears in the room, a lot of like, wow. And then I asked the teachers, how did you behave during that time when you were feeling these things, those aces in your life? As a child, were you the perfect child? Or did you have outbursts every once in a while where did you have your tantrums? Or did you get frustrated? Did you get upset at a teacher, at a parent? And they were like, absolutely. Yes, we did. And I said, because that's a way of a child communicating. This is what I'm feeling, but I don't know how to express that, right? So I always say behavior equals communication. And 90% of the time when you sit down with a child and you start talking about, why did you yell at that teacher? Why did you throw that chair? And after maybe 20 minutes of trying to calm them down and hear what they had to say, it all goes back to something that triggered that. And it goes back to something that happened earlier in the childhood years, right? When we start seeing that behavior is a way of children communicating how they are feeling, we start understanding them more and having more empathy. And that, when we understand that, that helps us. Instead of react to their behavior, we start responding. And that's important when we respond because that responding means I'm going to take a moment to self regulate as the adult. And then I'm going to take my time to find out what's going on with this child instead of reacting to their behavior and taking it personal.
What are some reflective practices that you encourage with your faculty?
I think it's just building relationship with the students and getting to know them. I hate when people say, we teach from day one, bell to bell. No, that should not be happening. We should not, because kids don't learn from people they don't know or like or have built a relationship. It's like a stranger is going to come to you and say, I'm going to teach you how to do this. And you're going to be like, who are you? What's your expertise? What? I don't know anything about you, right? So I think that it's so important that we take the time to build connections with those children from day one, knowing their background, and also giving them clear, concise expectations and building that every day. So, a practice that I used to do is the first 20 days of school, and you'll be like, what? The first 20 days of school, the last 20 minutes of the day, 20, 30 minutes of the day, every classroom stopped what they were doing, and we would spend the time knowing the kids, knowing their backgrounds, teaching them the habits that we wanted them to learn, the classroom expectations, anything and the chants, the cheers, everything, the routine, everything and anything that they needed to know for the school year, we taught them every day, repetitive for 20 days, right? And you would say, gosh, you're taking 20 minutes of instructional time for 20 days. You can't do that. I see it as an investment because if you take the time for kids to know what are your expectations, and what do you want from them? And you also build that relationship with them for the rest of the school year, you're going to be fine. But if you don't do that, you're going to spend the next 180 something days of schools dealing with behaviors, trying to figure out this child, trying to catch on the parents and doing all that. Another thing that we would always do is I would give time during pre-planning for my teachers to go through every student file. I need you to know this child, what they bring to the table. What were they homeless? Were they foster kids? Where, mom is single or just dad or grandpa's the only one in the picture. They're sick, right? They have a condition or they are from anything and everything they needed to know about that child. I needed them to take the time to go through every file and know the kids before they went to the classroom. And that helped them understand that child. Because if you don't know anything about this child and this child all of a sudden starts throwing cheers at you, right? Or destroying your classroom that you just decorated, you're going to react. You're going to be upset. You're going to be angry. You won't be able to regulate this child. And the minute you crash with that child, you clash with that child because you're dysregulated and that child is dysregulated, you kill that relationship. So it's all about being proactive. One thing that we do at the Ron Clark Academy that I absolutely love is that we put every child's picture in the gym floor, right? And then we walk around with stickers that identify how many interactions we've had with that child. And then we identify the kids that we're like, wait, that child doesn't have a lot of stickers. What happened? Why we're not interacting with that child? And then we make it our purpose to spend more time with this kid. Because what we want is we want to make sure that every student in our building feels seen and cared for. So those are strategies that are very powerful because they are important and it's a game changer for sure.
That is a huge takeaway for me that I want to start with the pictures and the touch points because being seen and heard is the fundamental human craving.
Yeah.
Before we met just a little bit ago, I went through to try and find out more about you because I think that is important to see, okay, who is this person that I'm interacting with? And my favorite or most revealing story that I found was the fact that you moved in fifth, sixth grade, you moved from where you were used to up to New York. And moving to me is something I experience a lot with students because I'm at a middle school, but I'm in an elementary school. And that's a huge disruptor and also translates into the school. So, what do you wish that your teachers knew about you when you moved to help make that easier? Because that in a kid's life is a huge deal.
Yes. And now that I'm an educator, I actually understand that teacher, right? At first, I was like upset with that teacher. But now that I'm an educator, and a leader, I probably am thinking about maybe she didn't get the support that she needed or the training that she needed to understand a different kind of student. So when I moved from Puerto Rico to New York, I started fifth grade in Brooklyn, New York. And when I walked in the classroom, even though I knew English because I was in private school in Puerto Rico, my mom is an English teacher. My family, all of them speak English. Majority of them lived in New York for years and then came back to Puerto Rico. I went in the classroom and I remember that it was a total cultural shock for me. It was very different from what I was used to. And I've always been a 4-point average student, GPA, like on it. And then I got there and I struggled. I struggled because it wasn't the same. And I remember the teacher, she tried in her ways. She did try in her ways to build that relationship, but she was very reactive. She was reactive to when I didn't understand something. She was reactive when I started acting silly because behavior equals communication, right? And she got so frustrated. She would yell, she would throw things, but then a week later, she would send something in the mail, a pencil or something. It was like she didn't know what she was doing with me. She had no clue how to help me. And that was frustrating her. And now I see that. Now that I'm an educator and that I train educators, I understand where she was coming from. But it wasn't until two teachers, one was the ESOL teacher, and the other one was my sixth grade teacher, especially my ESOL teacher. She saw potential. She's like, wait a minute. She is not a fluent English speaker, but my goodness, she's smart. So let's make sure that she's highlighted that she feels confident doing things that she already knows how to do. So she signed me up for the Spanish spelling bee. What? Won the whole region. She signed me up for Spanish storytelling. Won the whole region for the school. And then she started building my confidence in speaking English and doing things. Then when I went to sixth grade, wow, that teacher, I haven't been able to find her. I've looked for her in so many ways, but she transformed everything. She believed in me and she spent so much time with me. I remember that she would talk to my mom. She's like, "Can I take her to this leadership thing? And can I take her?" And she took me everything about leadership. And I became, from being scared and completely in shock in fifth grade, I became the school council president in sixth grade. This teacher invested so much in me. And I remember in the yearbook that she gave us, she wrote for me, most likely to teach and lead. Who knew? Because never in my mind, never ever I said that I wanted to be an educator. But she saw that in me. She saw that potential. It is important that we're training teachers, knowing all kinds of students and what they bring, different subgroups, and what they bring to the table and how they can differentiate the support that they provide, but also how you can see the potential in each child, right? It's not because they have a language barrier doesn't mean that they're not smart, right? They're not smart in the language that you want them to learn at the moment, but they're probably extremely smart in their own language. Or they have other talents, right? They are very artistic, or they love singing, or their art, their visual arts talent, it's outstanding. It's just being able to identify those things.
So, what does educational equity look like to you, or how has it evolved over your transformation from teacher to leader?
It's finding the tools that we need to support every child, and it's building the whole child. It's having high expectations for every child, not lowering the bar for certain kids and high expectations for others. No, it's having high expectations for every child. One thing that I loved about the Ron Clark Academy, even before I started working there, is that they believe that we teach to the highest. We teach to the highest and we believe in kids. And the way we are reaching those kids is by building strong relationships with them. It's by making them know that I'm going to push you. I'm going to be hard. I'm going to be firm, but I'm doing this because I love you and I'm going to make sure that you are successful. And that is what equity looks like for me in the classroom. It's not, oh, you don't know English. Let me give you this picture book. Or, oh, you were an exceptional learning student. I'm going to, no, it's, I believe in you. I'm going to expose you to grade level content. I'm going to make sure that you are exposed to it and have the chance to at least learn it. And then we're going to front load. We're going to reinforce. We're going to enrich as needed. I'm going to find the ways for you to learn the same content, right? And that is a way of telling that child, I believe in you. I am going to do whatever it takes to make you successful. And kids know that. And kids know that. When you are lowering the bar for them, they know that as well, right? And it's like tap tap, bless your heart. This is all you can do. That's awful. As an adult, I would hate for someone to come tell me, a supervisor come tell me, tap, tap, Aleli, this is all you can do. I mean, I don't have high expectations for you, right? High expectations and accountability is a great way of telling the child, I love you, or a child and an adult, I love you, I believe in you, and we're going to get you there.
So, by differentiating the way that you assess them and the way that you reinforce the content, I see it clearly with professional development with the adults. So, what is your ideal professional development plan for a system? We are doing so much growth with our charter school system. What's some good advice and direction from you with your experience on professional development?
Make it strategic. Not just let me take a look at all the conferences that are out there or all the topics that I can do and create a calendar of professional development. No. First of all, use your data to identify the areas of needs improvement of your school. Second, you have to also ask your teachers what they want and what they need. And sometimes you have to differentiate that question as well. What do you need and what do you want? Because when you do both, it's amazing. Because what do you need? I'm going to help you better your craft, right? And I'm going to support you and coach you and get you there. What do you want? Is saying to that educator, what are you aspiring? What are your next? What is your dream? What do you want to become? And that is showing that educator, this leader believes in me. She sees my potential. She sees what I can bring to the table. And that's going to be an educator that's going to go above and beyond because you show them that they matter, right? And then my philosophy when it comes to professional development is that is my time, right? When I'm doing professional development myself with my educators, my faculty, that is my time to be the teacher and they are my students. So I'm going to model for them what I want to see in the classrooms. So if I want to see classroom transformations, I want to see engagement, I want to see dancing, I want to see movement, I want to see singing. That's how my professional development is going to be. And the majority of the time, if you go through my social media when I did my professional development, you will see me dressing up, dancing, everything with lights. There was a theme, a room transformation. Something was always happening. And I didn't say, oh, I'm doing this. I expect for you to do it. It was an automatic thing that clicked on teachers and they were like, oh, this is a great idea. They were learning from me as well, right? And then they went back and they did the same thing in the classroom. They transformed, they used the same theme and they just modified it to their lesson or their unit, or they dressed up and tried to do something similar. You have to model what you want to see in your school. And that starts with you. You can't be demanding all the time. I want you to be more engaging. I want you to do a little more spike up the classroom, beautify your classroom no, you have to model that as a leader. And when they see you doing it, that inspires them to do so. So first, be strategic, use your data, ask needs and wants, and then design something that you want to model for them and make it fun.
How do you create a safe space that your educators feel like they can say what is true to them or say what they need? Because sometimes what they need might be, they might be embarrassed to say what they need because that's a hard thing to admit. It's vulnerability. How do you make sure that your place is safe to have that thrive?
It's connecting with them and knowing them. I think that first, open door policy. And when a lot of people say open door policy, and every time someone tries to walk in, the door is closed, right? Open door policy means open door policy. And open door policy means that my teachers knew the only time of the year that I would lock my door was budget time. And I'm like, here I am trying to save your position. So leave me alone. That was the only time during the school year. Every other time, my door was always open. And open door policy doesn't mean someone walks in your office. No. When someone walks in my office, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I stop what I'm doing. I look and I listen, right? I think that making eye contact and listening to that person, even if it's for 2 minutes, makes a huge difference because they're going to feel that they are being heard. And that is extremely important. Another thing, and that is my secret, I'm going to put it out there, believe it or not, and I still use it to this day. There's always a nice basket or container with really good chocolate in my office. And that is my school thermometer. It helps me identify what's going on in the building. If that basket is empty by Tuesday, whoa, Aleli, get out of the office, walk classrooms, start asking people what's going on. And sure enough, there was something going on, right? There was stress, there was anxiety, frustration, there was something happening. And I would always find a way to boost morale in those moments. And a lot of people would be like, how do you know? You show up exactly when we need it. And I'm like, if they only knew. Now, if that basket is still full on Friday, means that everything's well in that building, right? When building those relationships is not just walking around with a cart of snacks and yada, 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 right? It's about personalizing things for them. You do a survey. Every time they come and give you something or talk to you about it and you notice a fact, write it down so you can remember. Right. Every time I talk to teachers, former teachers, I'll be like, tell me what some of the things that I did that you really, really liked, right? So I can continue doing them. And they're like, V, you did so many great things, but the best thing that you always did for us is that you personalized things. You knew what we liked. It wasn't like, I'm going to walk around giving out pencils. No, I knew the snacks they like, the food that they like, the colors they like, right? And things that they like for their classroom. It was always personalized. It's giving that additional extra special touch and paying attention to details that makes a huge, huge difference. And also learning to follow up. If they come to you, hey, I need to be out for the next 2 days. My child is sick. When they come back, go ask that teacher, how's your child doing, right? Besides a random reply all email that you send, happy birthday to all these people in January, you send a text or you call. If they are out because they're sick or a family member died, you're there, or at least you send food and flowers, right? You show them that you care. That goes a long way because that's showing them that you are there for them, to care for them and support them. And that connection builds so much trust that they are able to come and tell you whatever they need. I've always said, I don't like yes people. I need people to come tell me, whoa, Dr. V, slow down, or that's too much, or we're overwhelmed. I've always said that to them. And you build that as well when you have clear expectations and you share with them the do's and don'ts. And I have a very funny PowerPoint that I used to use during pre-planning, created by teachers of Dr. V's do's and don'ts. And they would write down everything that I like and things that, no, don't do it. But I would share that with every year. We would share that even with the new people that came in, because you know what? That's showing people I know what my leader likes and she doesn't like. I don't have to walk over eggshells all year long trying to figure it out. I already know. And that builds confidence, right? That builds confidence because I know my leader. And when they know you, they learn how to trust you.
Do you have any that off the top of your head that were like consistent with do's and don'ts?
I think one of the funniest one was like, do not talk to Dr. B before her having coffee. Or like if I'm walking in the building, let her walk into the office, put down her purse, grab her coffee, and then talk to her. Jules was like, go above and beyond, not for me, for the kids. It was not about me. It was about the kids. I don't care what you can give me. It was like, if you're going to be here for the kids. Welcoming the kids in the morning. I didn't like seeing adults fussing at kids in the morning. Don't mess up a child's day, right? Love on them, care for them, be there for them. Later on in the day, take the time to talk to them. It's okay, right? I mean, as an adult, I don't like someone fussing at me first thing in the morning. It's going to ruin my whole day. So why do that to kids as well? So things like that they knew that were very important to me when it came to the children in the building. And then the don'ts, like don't take things personal when we're talking about data. It's about kids, right? It's about how we make our school better, how we better our craft and best practices. We used to have in the data room a humongous Q-tip, and it was quit taking it personal. And we would put it on the table every time we were discussing data. It wasn't about you. This is not about you. It's about kids and how we're going to improve.
And what do you think is one of our biggest challenges today? Maybe it wasn't relevant 15 or 20 years ago, but what's something that you're seeing that a lot of different schools are experiencing that you have some insight on to help us?
Whew. I hear a lot about attendance, that they're struggling, and behaviors. And that goes back to building relationships and having conversations with the parents, providing a welcoming environment because especially elementary and some middle schoolers, high school is different. They don't know how to drive. They can't drive themselves to schools, right? They rely on their parents or their caregiver takers to bring them to school every morning. So we can't blame a child for not being there on time. We can't blame a child for being absent. It's not their decision. But when we build and connect with the families and their guardians, and we are able to have those conversations, education, it's hard. It's rewarding. It's beautiful, but it's hard. And if we don't have a support system in place, right, throughout the day, because we spend so many hours in school, I think that we spend more time in the building than we do at home, right? And how do you get through when you don't have that colleague at the end of the hallway to just listen to you vent for a moment? Or someone that will come to release you from the classroom because you just need a break, right? Finding someone to laugh during lunchtime, to decompress a little bit. It is so important for leaders to understand that it's so important that we build moments for the adults on campus to know each other, not as colleagues, not as teachers, but as humans. Knowing the human side of people, it's so important. And finding those moments and creating those moments for your team to know each other, to learn how to care for one another, to find value in each other, right? Small conversations can help me find value in you. I'm going to listen to you and I'm going to hear about your stories of how you supported so many educators along the way and that you were a mentor for a lot of interns. Well, that's going to tell me that you are a person I can go to when I need an advice in education. Or in that random conversation, I learn about how you help so many kids and the stories that you did about helping families. Well, when I have a struggling child in the classroom, I can go to you because I find value in you. If you're just walking around your building saying, hi, good morning, hi, afternoon, you're just, all of you are warm bodies. But when you get a chance to connect and find value in the humans in the building, you learn to support one another, have empathy, and care for one another. And that is very valuable. So one of the biggest advice that I can give to leaders is yes, focus on the academics and improving your schools and making them a better place and following what you have to do. But also make sure that you are creating moments for the adults on campus to be humans, to spend time together, to grow stronger together, to find a way to unite and collaborate in ways that will make it more powerful. Education is not something that you can do solo. There's no way. When they say it takes a village, it does take a village. And the only way we can do that is if we as educators start empowering each other, taking care of each other, like you're doing, highlighting educators, learning from others. These are great ways for us to continue to grow and becoming better at what we do to continue supporting students. It's so, so important.
Dr. V, your warmth and your empathy has really connected over video. And I appreciate you taking time for us. Something I respect is not only bring years in education, but you bring the textbook knowledge, and now you are doing something about it to share it with others, which is that final piece of being a wonderful human being. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It was a pleasure talking to you today. And educators out there, like I always say, just make magic happen. That's what we do.
So, whether you're a teacher, a parent, or just EduCurious, join the community as we explore various educational topics and learn from each other. And as always, be EduCurious.